Hey guys, welcome back. We have a name for the show. Matisse was racking his brain for I don't want to say a week, but for some time thinking of it. Overland and Chelsea with Ellie and Armani. It all rhymes, which is brilliant. I love it. So he's like, is that my boy Ma on the thumbnail? Yes, yes it is. So we have a weekly show. So you can see him here every single Tuesday. I'm forgetting what day it is. Good evening to you guys. It's a really late one. It's 5 p.m. for me in New York, 10 p.m. for you guys in the UK. So thanks if you're joining in. And thank you, Matisse, for joining and accommodating my schedule.
Of course. I'm excited. Listen, I've just seen Manchester City demolish Leeds. I'm a little bit scared, you know what I'm saying, for the rest of the season and the title race. But we're still here. We're still in it. So hopefully we can still participate for as long as possible. The participation award is the bare minimum I'm looking for here. It's like sports day.
So are you like at all worried seeing that City just absolutely dominated Leeds 7-0 and we were struggling and relied on a late penalty winner to get the win over them? Does that make you nervous at all?
It's concerning. It definitely is. I think, City and Liverpool are best placed to try and do a 90-pointer like they've been doing. They're used to that. They've been, toing and throwing for the last few seasons. I know Liverpool didn't last year, but they had a lot of injuries. So they're quite well seasoned in this fight. We, on the other hand, haven't, been in a title race since we won it in 2017. So we're what Jose Mourinho calls the little horse. Who needs nurturing and feeding and cuddling and no injuries. We really do need to keep our players fit. Hopefully in January, though, we strengthen a little bit and we go again. But we just need to get through the deadly December and hopefully come out the other side unscathed.
I was I was doing some prep because I'm going to be on the Premier League on Thursday, like 5:30 a.m. my time, early wake up. But since in the last 4 years, Chelsea have had a gap with the Premier League winners of 19 points, 33 points, 26 points, and 30 points. So realistically, do you think that that's a margin that we can make up this season?
Is that a margin we can make up? I think the key for me is the margin needs to be made up through Lukaku's goals. That's what we signed him for. We signed him for goals. We signed him to make the team more efficient in front of goal, and we still haven't really found a way to effectively use him and have him gel with the rest of the team. And I still believe we'll find a way. We haven't tried every single type of tactic. We haven't ever had every single player that I feel would really help Lukaku find form on the pitch with him. I'm talking about Mateo Kovacic, which we saw at the start of the season, Reece James, Chilwell, who's hopefully back in mid-January. That report dropped today as well, which is looking promising. So I think with those guys who are more direct and pacey around him as well, who get the ball into him quicker and spot some of his runs, and obviously have really good delivery from the flanks, I think we can get the best out of Lukaku. So I think that's going to be the key, because without that, we're just the team that once again are third, fourth, fluid, looking nice, but not actually being cutthroat consistently.
Yeah, and I've been saying this for a while, and I haven't wanted to sound like negative because you guys know me. I don't want to be negative on my channel. But even though we were winning, I was just feeling like we have like some red flags despite winning, that a lot of defenders are scoring goals and that we need to be relying on our attackers, because it's just not something that's maintainable that you can consistently hold on to. Ibrahim says we beat City in the best form of their life, not worried at all about City. I find it funny that like they're always ranked like the team that's most likely to win the Champions League, and every year something happens so that they don't win the Champions League and we happen to beat them to it, and we're still like pretty far down in the rankings even though we're the reigning champs.
Yeah.
So you never know. It's different types of competitions too. I think like one is doing like planning very specifically for 7 game like knockout games, and you
Yeah.
know your opponent and you can get that exactly precise. And then another thing is replicating form over the course of an entire season, and having these games that come every 3-4 days, and having these teams that play low blocks as well. But you did mention some very good news. I was fully expecting Ben Chilwell to be out for the rest of the season. I was like, no way is he coming back. And it seems like, fingers crossed, the injury might not be as bad as we initially feared. He might be back early to mid-January, which is just a month away, which is brilliant for us. And after, I think like early January, we start going to like 1 game a week again. How big do you think that that's going to be for Chelsea? And do you think that we can stay in the title race until Ben Chilwell comes back?
Two things. I think, Wolves away on Sunday is going to be very difficult. I think Everton have got a few players missing in terms of Richarlison, and a couple of others I saw reported today as well. So Everton at home, who are in poor form, we should be able to take care of on Thursday. We have Trevor and Kante hopefully coming back as well. But Wolves away are going to be very difficult. That's a team that, are very resilient. They're very organised, and they counter quite quickly with Adama Traore and a few others as well. Finishing is probably their weakest point, which this season has kind of hampered them, but defensively, they're very, very good. They obviously held City to a 1-0 win at the Etihad with only 10 men for half the game. Obviously, Jimenez got sent off, and Liverpool, they nearly got a draw, only the last-minute winner. So Wolves away on Sunday is going to be a big, big game. If we can win that, obviously following, we need to win against Everton on Thursday. Then I'll say, when Chilwell, hopefully when Chilwell comes back, we'll be in a good position. We still have Liverpool on January the 2nd as well, which is a massive game at Stamford Bridge. But for me as well, I think
Anthony Taylor's refereeing as well.
I've heard. So there's a lot going on there. I think in terms of Chilwell, we have to be careful that we don't build up our expectations too high about him coming back in mid-January, because he's still got to then recover and get back to form. And I think that's going to take maybe another month, in my opinion, for him to really get back onto where he was, where we left off in terms of his fitness and form. So I still think we need to purchase a left wing back and try and.
Just going to ask you that.
Hey, I ain't changing. I'm not changing. I still believe we need to purchase a wing back and sell Alonso, or loan him out if we have to accommodate a new player coming in. Preferably someone who can play both sides. Someone who can play right wing back and left wing back. So when James is out the team, we have cover. When Chilwell's out the team, we have cover. There's quite a few wing backs that can do that. Spinazzola at Italy in the Euros looked really good. He could play both. We were looking at him, and then he got injured. Marlin, I can't say his name correctly, but he's at Atalanta. He was in the Denmark team. He can apparently play both sides as well. And obviously, if you can't get, someone who can play both sides, then just for me, go and get a left wing back who's better than Alonso. So we don't have to rush Chilwell back, and we don't have to, over rely upon him again for the rest of the season, because if he does pick up another knock because we've rushed him and he gets into a spiral of injuries, then we're going to be screwed. And there's loads of left wing backs out there. There's a ridiculous amount on the market. So there's not really any excuse for that.
Yeah, and I think like the key thing as well is that like with any player, you wouldn't be able to rely on them week in, week out. And we've seen that teams have consistently been targeting that left-hand side because Alonso has been playing. And that's no disrespect to Alonso, but just he is slower than Ben Chilwell, and teams are taking advantage of that. But I think you're right. I think that we do need to bring somebody in as cover, no matter who it is, because you can't have one person playing the same position week in, week out, unless it's maybe like a center back or somebody super, super, super durable, because we just have so many games to play, and we are seeing that the players are dropping like flies because they're all getting injured at this point. But hopefully we can get a left back or left wing back in. Guys, if you have any questions as well, feel free to ask them in the chat, and we can try to get to as many as possible. So kind of looking forward to Everton. what's your solution for the left wing back in the short term? Because we have Alonso, we saw Saul play there. I personally wouldn't play him there again, especially in the Premier League. Maybe I think we have a cup game coming up, but maybe Alonso could get a rest. But personally, I would probably play Aspie or even Reece James as a left wing back ahead of Saul. Maybe alternate them with Alonso. What about you?
I wouldn't move Reece James. I just think we're killing two birds with one stone, because I think Reece James is best on the right. He's been a big part of our team, creating chances on the right, and I wouldn't want to lose that. And then on the right, we'd also be a little bit damaged as well. I think Aspie is becoming a shout, but I think Aspie's starting to gas out 75, 60 minutes. He's getting quite tired. I think I've seen a report that his fitness levels are dropping a little bit this season as well. That could be with age. Obviously, he's been so reliable season in, season out for almost a decade now in Europe. This guy has been very rarely injured as well. And I keep saying this, mileage is like a car. The more you use the car, the more mileage, and suddenly at some point it's going to gas out. Same with Kante, who's now injury prone. We might be getting to that stage this season with Aspie, who's been so reliable and very rarely injured. So, that's something we've got to take into account. I think on the left-hand side, we're kind of screwed. I think I'm very close to saying Callum, someone who hasn't got the finishing, technique that I'm looking for in the final third is the one thing that I really, really want him to improve on, but is a very good chance creator, is very fluid, has played there at times. He has played the wing back role at times, and he's not starting in the front three. In the last couple of games, he hasn't started, unfortunately. He hasn't started Ziyech, Mason Mount, Kai, albeit the last game, Kai's been looking good overall recently. So you can say it's probably unrealistic right now for Callum to play in the front three, despite a decent run of form before the Man United game. So Callum is an option at the left wing back role. It's not ideal defensively. I do think it's going to be difficult for him at times coming up against wingers but what other choice do we have at this point? Alonso giving away a penalty against Leeds, Saul leaving an acre of space against Zenit for Sarr to try and clean up the mess there. It was just too much. So at least Callum's got the mobility and the fluidity on that side, and he's quick, exactly. So I'm not saying it's going to be great, but maybe it will be a bit better. I don't know.
Maybe I'm thinking, like, I agree with you that he does need to improve his finishing. I mean, he's so young, so it's not like I'm really going to be judging it so much, because he hasn't had, this is like the first run of game time that he's really had consistent game time in years, I feel, and in his preferred position. So I'm not going to judge it too much, but I do think that in order to occupy one of those front three spaces, I want to see more end product from him, and I haven't really been seeing it so much. So maybe playing him, just like, I'm just spitballing here, but maybe playing him in a left wing back position, although it's not his preferred position, while we just need somebody to cover in this, could be beneficial, because he's not going to be expected to be the one who's always creating and scoring and getting assists. Like, he can still put balls in, but it's not going to be so reliant on his end product. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Could be total BS. Trying to find a positive to the injury crisis. Hey, Ravi, how's it going? Baba says we need to call back, in caps, we need to call back Conor Gallagher. We have no informed midfielder. And I'm sure you saw the reports that Conor Gallagher basically said, like, my heart is with Chelsea. If they called me in January, like, I would go. What do you think about that?
Apparently, again, sad news, but apparently we can't recall Conor Gallagher or Gilmore. Apparently they've played too many minutes or too many games for their clubs, and it's actually removed the clause, which is not surprising. I guess when you send out these guys out on, when you send out these guys on loan, obviously you want them to play games. So you maybe put that clause in to say, listen, you need to play a minimum of these games by January and show that you're really using our player. or we're going to bring them back. And I guess they've exceeded that game time, and they've played enough games now to not be having that recall clause, because the recall clause is not always there. It's an option. Sometimes it's there in the loan, sometimes it's not there. And I'm guessing we had a little term there for both of them to say, if you play this amount of games, then we won't recall them. So reportedly that's no longer an option. So midfield wise, my thing was bringing back Gilmour, not Gallagher. I think Gallagher's having a much better loan over the whole season. I know Gilmour's been better recently, but I think Gallagher's having the kind of season that you don't want to interrupt at Palace, and you don't want to, bring him back into an environment where he's not a guaranteed starter. He could start, he could not, and you're going to disturb his flow a little bit. And he's having a season where if he completes it in the manner he's moving at, he'll come back to Chelsea with his stock at a ridiculous rate, and it'll give him a much better chance of staying.
I think he'd be in the starting 11, maybe not week in, week out, but he's definitely making a case to be one of the starting midfielders next season, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, when everyone's fit, does he start in that pivot ahead of Kova, Kante, and Jorginho? I still don't think so. In that front three, there's definitely an argument to be made, because I think he's improved his goal scoring. His end product is really good. He's getting assists as well. He's got the same goal contributions, I think, as Mason Mount. So he's got more goals than Werner, Havertz, and Lukaku combined. So he could get into that front three. I said this a month ago on Twitter. I see him as that in this formation. I see him as that Mason Mount role, half funneling back into the pivot as an 8, but also in the final third contributing to the statistics going forward as well. He's kind of like that go in between. He's got the energy for the counter pressing, etc. So in this formation, that's where I see him. I just think there's a lot of competition there, and even though he's having a great season, to translate that to Chelsea is obviously, you still got to do that. So many player has tried and failed in that regard. So I think he does need the whole season just to raise his stocks and have a bit more leverage when he comes back. Gilmour is the guy I wanted, because I feel like he's more of a deeper midfielder at times, and he can pick up the ball and spray it, and he can be a bit of cover for Jorginho, even though he's not a natural DM, and we can't bring him back either. So we are truly screwed.
We better hope that they get fit and stay fit for the rest of the season. Basically, what have your thoughts been on Ruben Loftus-Cheek? Because I thought that he had some pretty good cameos, and then maybe it's because he's playing in a different position and he has to maybe hold back a little bit more. It's a position that he's not necessarily used to playing, but I don't think that he's been so impressive in recent weeks. What's your take on that?
I was saying exactly the same thing to Nini earlier on. I did a video on his channel, and I was saying that Ruben reminds me a lot of Kova, and I think the same criticism that Kova got in the early stages before his passing became more progressive and more assertive this season at the start, when he was playing that assist to Lukaku against Villa, and he was being a progressive passer and more direct, is the same thing you can apply to Ruben. Ruben likes to dribble. He likes to take a lot of touches. He likes to shield the ball and dribble with the ball, but he needs to release it quicker. We saw that against Watford when he picked up the ball in midfield, and he could have just played it back simple, and he decided to take that touch, and then he was dispossessed, and Dennis goes to score. I see a lot of similarities with them both, in terms of wanting to have the ball, dribble into the final third and do that, but they need to release it quicker. Covers started releasing it faster before the injury. Ruben needs to release it faster as well. I do think playing next to Saul definitely didn't help. I think anybody who's played next to Saul has been pretty poor. Kova looked pretty poor against Villa as well in that game at Stamford Bridge in the Premier League when Saul was playing next to him. So there's a little bit of Saul tax going on right now, unfortunately. But even still, I don't think he's been as good as when he first broke in. So he just needs to go up to that level again, because his position is still under threat as well. As much as we all love Ruben Loftus-Cheek, we got a lot of midfielders. Gilmour, Gallagher. There's a lot of guys here. I don't think it's possible to fit everybody in. Tino Andrin. There's so many guys. Someone's gonna have to bite the bullet. So he's still competing. He's still working for his place, and he's got Declan Rice, Tchouaméni, all these guys. Someone's got to bite the bullet here. One of these midfielders is not staying. So got to keep competing and keep proving yourself constantly that you're good enough to be one of the midfielders, especially in this system where we're playing the pivot. There's maybe less room for wiggle. If we move to a three-man midfield, it's a different ball game. But I think there's a while to go before we can change to that.
Yeah, a lot of people have been saying, well, like with all the injuries, why don't we just change formation? It's really not that easy. Like in order to change formation, you have to drill the new positions and the new formation. And we just don't have time to do that. We have games every 3 to 4 days. I literally did not realize that we had a game on Thursday and on Sunday because it's just mind-boggling to me that we have games in such quick succession. But just to speak about Ruben super quick, I mean, he's been one of my like fan favorites and one of the people that I really hope like made it at Chelsea. But I just feel
Yeah.
like the performances haven't been enough. Maybe if he has a little bit more freedom, like you said, if you're playing, you know, in a new position and you're playing with the likes of Saul, who's also not used to playing in that position, and you both like need to provide cover, and it just ends up leaving spaces all over, like you're going to be a bit more weary when you're playing. So I think if he had like somebody more defensive like Conte and Jorginho, I really liked when he was playing like behind them and had the space to roam.
Yeah.
I think that he looked best. It's so funny. You're literally so still. I thought that you were frozen, and I was like, Matisse,
My
I just
Wi-Fi does be dodgy,
talking
but
through
it
it.
could be good right now.
It's so funny. Oh my god.
My Wi-Fi does be dodgy.
So kind of pivoting uh to I'm in a loopy mood, guys. I've been up since like 4:30 in the morning.
You're getting
So
up earlier and earlier these days. What's going on here?
I know. It's because I have to be on Premier League today on Thursday at like 5:30, and I just wanted to keep the jet lag so that when I go on, I'm
Just
not
for
going to
that.
be like extremely tired and have like
Yeah.
a super sleepy face, and it's going to be like a massive struggle to think. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I need to get through until Thursday, and then after it also is beneficial to for my work because I logged on at 5:30 a.m. today, and then I logged off by like 2 because I was on for like so early. But I don't know. It's just a struggle because like 5, 6 starts hitting and I start getting sleepy, and then yesterday I was in bed by 7, like
Yeah.
7:30 I was sleeping. So
Ah, bloody
it's
hell.
a
That's what
struggle.
my grandparents are on.
I know, I know. It's sad. It's sad.
I turned up at their house a couple of days ago at 7:30, and I rang the doorbell and there was nobody answering. I said, "What's going on here?" And I see them coming. I see my grandma coming down the stairs. Just like I was like, "Yo, you was definitely sleeping. This is mad." I was like, "What's going on?" It's because the sun's going down early. It's the winter time. Next thing you
It's
know, people are
hard.
just
It's hard. I tell you. Like,
oh man, I'm telling you.
I don't do it in Madrid. Everything is later. Everything
Yeah,
opens
of course.
later.
Yeah,
Life
food
is
as well, isn't
later.
it?
You eat
Yeah,
later. Everything is
yeah.
later. So I actually have a hard time getting up early when I'm in Madrid. But to move on to the Everton game a bit, I always say, are you guys a bit weird that Everton might turn up like they did against Arsenal? Because I don't know about you, Matisse, but it's just like I feel like whenever Chelsea have a good run of form, sorry, no, whenever an opposition team have a bad run of form, we play them, and then for some reason they turn into like prime Barcelona. I don't know why, but I just get this feeling that Everton are going to show up. I don't know why, especially with how we kept leads in the game as well. They're probably
Yeah.
looking at that and saying, hey, Chelsea have been conceding a lot of goals. We can
Mm.
probably sit back, take our chances, and get something out of this game. But anyways, how are you feeling about the Everton game? Because
Uh,
I'm always nervous. So
I think it's all under our control. It depends what Chelsea turns up because Everton are not in a good run of form. They've got a few injuries, just like Leeds did. But again, if we come with the same complacency we came against Leeds with silly tackles and silly moments, then it will be a difficult game. But if we turn up and we come serious and we play to the best of our abilities, and we shouldn't, I think for me, it's all about that defense. That's the side of the pitch that's been conceding the goals. They haven't been as tight defensively as they have been all season. If that defense can get back to the level it's been at, for the majority of the season, not conceding, keeping clean sheets, then we just need the odd goal. And the attack has been actually scoring some goals recently. So I think we have the ability to make this game comfortable, but we just need to make sure that we get ourselves together defensively, because if we start throwing away goals, I don't think the attack is a dead certain to actually score enough goals to win the game. I think
yeah,
we've been you know, we've been lucky, and then against West Ham, you know, we lose. So it's very up and down in terms of, I think, you know, 2 goals, 3 goals the other day, Zenit 3 goals again. Asking for a lot from this attack right now to be getting maybe 4 goals. It's like, that's not sustainable. We need to get back to clean sheets, you know?
So who plays in your back 5, so to speak?
Left wing back. I'll do that last, man. That's a difficult one. I think for me personally, I'll go Reece James again, of course, on the right. I think Silva, Rudiger. It's difficult because you want to rest Silva and not play him twice a week, but we got Wolves as well. But we really can't afford to not have him in the team. I think Rudiger was good against Leeds. Obviously, won both penalties. I think I'll go Christensen because I think you could see Aspie was getting tired towards the end of the Leeds game, so rotate him out maybe. So Rudiger, you know, Christensen's not in great form, but Rudiger, Christensen, Silva, Trevor hopefully will be back for Wolves. Maybe, I'm not sure if that's too soon. Maybe he might be back next week actually. So maybe it is too soon. And then left hand side, I'm gonna go Callum Hudson-Odoi. I need to have some fluidity and some pace, and then. Yeah, take out Alonso and see what that does. You know, maybe taking out Alonso will give him a kick up the arse to see a winger playing ahead of him, and show him that performance against Leeds isn't good enough. Just because you got an assist, it's not good enough. And then maybe that will give him the kick up the arse to put in a better performance.
We've kind of seen that with Alonso as well. That if he has somebody who is a direct competitor, he tends to step up his game. Oh, my throat is so dry right now. Yeah, I'm like so sad that Aspie hasn't been like up to his level. I mean, it's just like natural that it starts getting harder. I hate running, so I can't imagine how he's been doing it all of these years. Like I would pass out after 5 minutes, but I do agree that he probably needs a rest in this game. The interesting thing is that like we saw Callum Hudson-Odoi so often at right wing back, but I'm surprised that he's not featured so much since Chilwell got injured. And I'm surprised that we don't see him at left wing back because it's like his preferred side as well, and he's already played in a wing back position. So you could be right on that. I don't know. I would probably play like Callum in one game, Aspie in another. I don't really have a preference as to who, just for something different. Like you said, Christensen, I'm not like so keen to start either, just because I feel like he's been in his head. And when you're in your head, you're just so prone to making mistakes as well. And I think that for his sake, we just need to sort that contract situation. He either stays and signs the contract, or he leaves and knows that he's free to talk to clubs in January. But it was just like a stark contrast, like before Tuchel mentioned his contract situation in the press and after his performances have just dipped. So hopefully he can, I think he will be starting. I would be surprised if he's not starting, but hopefully he can get in a good performance, and especially for the sake of his contract, because if he keeps, putting in poor performance.
The more he plays right now, the lower his negotiation becomes in terms of his bargaining.
His negotiating power, 1,000%.
I did see from Fabrizio that, him and Silva should be signing soon. I think, it's getting to the point now where we should expect those two to get wrapped up. I think Aspie and Rudiger are a lot more at risk in terms of not signing. I think they're maybe looking at Aspie and thinking, Aspie, damn straight. I think Aspie, they might be looking at him saying, fitness-wise, are you still at the level? I think, they're seeing in training, I've seen reports that his fitness hasn't really been on the same level as you'd expect, and he has been gassing out towards the end of games. 75 minutes, I'm starting to see he's tired. Obviously, he came off for Christensen against Leeds as well, around the 75 minutes mark, and that side was starting to get a lot of pressure down it in the second half. And they might be looking at him and saying, right, we got Koundé, we got younger players, maybe potentially we're going to buy or coming back from loan and to part ways this season. So, I think Aspie and Rudiger are the ones that you got to look out for. I think Rudiger's basically halfway to Real Madrid. There's still little glimmers of hope because for some reason, it's not confirmed that he's going to Real Madrid. There's still talks with Chelsea, but I still don't believe Chelsea are going to
Real Madrid.
Aspie to Barcelona was linked, and Rudiger to Real Madrid. Yeah.
Oh, Oh, I heard. I was thinking. I went on that. I went on a thought, and I was wait. He's gonna be in Madrid.
No. Yeah, right next door. Yeah, no. Right next door to you. No, not happening. Not happening. I
Eden
think he
Hazard
could.
lives like 10 minutes away from my apartment. Like all of the Real Madrid players live in this like
Well,
super
you know his actual
populated
house.
town. What?
You know his actual house.
It's like on the internet.
What? You know, if the Chelsea fan base got a hold of that information and some of them lived in Spain,
I'm
that
pretty
would
sure it's
be.
like a gated community. Like there's no way that you
They'll
can
find
get
a way to
in.
climb those gates. Don't worry about that.
I go climbing. I'm gonna make sure
I'm
that
telling you, them
I
gates
can
will be
climb
getting
those
climbed.
gates.
Like gated community is not going to save him from the Chelsea fan base. I'm telling you,
But
if the Chelsea fan
apparently
base knew where he lived, there ain't no
I
gates saving you.
I haven't
If
seen
they,
him. I haven't seen him. Not that I go into his town, but we're like in the towns next to each other, like because we both live outside of the city center.
mm,
And apparently there's a gym that's like a Reebok gym that all of the Real Madrid players go to. That's like 200 a month, which for Madrid is like crazy
yeah,
expensive. But
nothing
obviously
for
the
them.
Real Madrid players are gonna go there. And I don't know. Maybe one I really would love to just run into him on the street, and I think that he would be like so happy to have somebody like speaking English and be a Chelsea fan and just like praise him, because the Madrid spell hasn't gone how he's wanted. uh I saw a couple of people always ask like in the comments, but would you have Hazard back at Chelsea?
You asking me?
Yeah, yeah.
No, no,
You're
no.
heartless, Matisse.
We're not doing this again. Everybody always asks me this question. I give them the same answer, and I'm not going to change it. Like,
At least you're consistent. I
I'm
I
consistent.
just
It's not.
I'm just
I'm
not
pretty sure you
rational.
already heard me say no as well. You probably have heard me say no before. You're
Yeah,
just
yeah, of
checking.
course. I
You're
just
just
want
checking to see if I'm
you're just
consistent. You're
still
checking to
feeling
see
it.
this, trying to catch me out. Nah. We need to not be caught up with the past and move on to the future, man.
I
I
understand that, but
especially with
it's
the margins right now. We just saw Man City sweep Leeds. Like we
I
can't
know.
afford to not be at our best, in this title race. We can't afford to. This is not a Chelsea team that can afford to revive anybody. This is not Fortnite. I keep saying this. This is not.
No,
Do you
I
know what I'm
don't think
saying?
he's going to make it clear. I don't think that he's going to be able to revive his career and be in the same form as he was at Chelsea. From the reports that I've heard, his ankle injury, like is really bad, and if he does anything else to it, he'll probably end his playing career anyway. So I don't think he's getting back to that level, but just like kind of like a nostalgia thing for him to
Blah,
finish
blah. You
his
man don't want the
career.
prem.
He just it like when Drogba came back and he would make the casual
No.
appearance, but it's like for the morale. I don't know. I just like have a soft spot, guys. Don't judge me. I have a soft spot for Eden Hazard. We have the same initials, so maybe it's that. I'm not rational, and I accept that I'm not rational when it comes to Eden Hazard. But let's get back to Kurt and Chelsea. So we have a question from Fernand saying it's concerning that we used to control games, but the last few games we weren't able to pass, win the second balls, we weren't pressing, and the gaps between our attackers and our midfield was huge. And this is something that I'm concerned about as well. Like we seem to go a goal up and we can't get that second goal or that winner, and we can see it, and we're just consistently letting teams back into the game, and it's something that we've seen consistently versus West Ham, versus Senate, versus Leeds as well. Like we just we have a win, a draw, and a loss because it's just so like inconsistent that literally it could go either way. We could get
Yeah.
lucky and get a win, we could concede stupidly and lose, or we could concede and not be able to get a winner, so we draw. And we've seen
Yeah.
all of these scenarios.
Yeah, I think Tuchel thinks it's a mentality issue. That surprises me because this team haven't won a title, most of them, and they haven't
Yeah.
been in a title race since 2017. Rudiger hasn't won a title. Silva obviously hasn't won the Premier League. I could keep going. There's so many players in this team that have not won a Premier League. So to be complacent even for a second is crazy to me. That doesn't make any sense. It's a team that they should be hungry and dying for a Premier League title, and they know no one needs to be told that Liverpool, Manchester City are the benchmark for recent years in the Premier League. They're going to be going for 90 points minimum. They are going to be consistent and neck and neck throughout this. So there should be no room for complacency. That is something that we need to reach and strive for, not something that we should be taking for granted that we were top a couple of weeks ago and we can start being complacent. So I don't really get where it comes from, apart from maybe a lack of quality on the pitch with the injuries, lack of control in games. We can't seem to control the game when the other team starts to raise their game after going a goal down, whether that be 2-1 against West Ham or 3-2 against Zenit in the final stages. We can't seem to see out the game maturely because we don't have any control over the game, and that's mainly because the midfielders are not on the pitch that needs to be on the pitch. I think it all starts from the midfield. We look at a team that in possession, just since Chilwell, Kova, Kante have been missing. Obviously, Jorginho has had to overplay with a hip injury. We just don't have any control, and certain passes that Rudiger was making into the midfield, they're not viable anymore because players are not in the right positions. And everything just, all the pieces just fall down from there.
Totally. Do you feel that it's almost an issue because you spoke about these players haven't won a Premier League, so they should be really determined. But do you think that it's an issue of they haven't won a Premier League, so they don't know what focus and determination is needed in order to get to like that Premier League level?
I mean, I felt like the Champions League should have prepared them for that. Obviously, it's not as as long in terms of the tournament. It's way less games, but the concentration needed to beat Manchester City 1-0 in the Champions League final was immense. That concentration that they needed in that game was ridiculous. They had to be laser focused for the second half of the match because they were 1-0 up the whole time. And this is Manchester City. This is a team that just won the Premier League, create opportunities for fun, and have got a ridiculous amount of options to pick from. And that team had to get through that 45 minutes and win the Champions League. So if before the Champions League, I would have said, yeah, this team don't know what it's like to stay concentrated for a sustained amount of time. But after the Champions League win, I just felt like that was the perfect building block to then go and actually do that in the Premier League on a consistent basis. But I'm trying not to be too harsh because I do feel like, we are talking mainly with a team that, contracts are running out in defense. So concentration is already a problem there and their futures are not secure. So they're probably a bit ropey there. Midfielders have been missing the top midfielders that are responsible for that Champions League win. Can I expect the same awareness, anticipation and concentration from Saul in a new league that is far faster? From Alonso, who's a second choice left wing back? Probably not. From Ruben, who is a fourth choice midfielder and obviously just come off the back of Fulham. He wasn't involved in that Champions League. So we're expecting maybe, the concentration we're talking about from the wrong players, because they're obviously squad fillers. So I think, I think, once the first team guys come back in, we should be fine. But we do need to patch up a few areas in January to have the right depth, especially now we can't bring back one of the midfielders. It depends what we want. If we yes, I understand, don't overload the squad, but at the same time, do we want a Premier League title or not? Do you know what I mean? If we don't want it, then leave the team how it is and probably finish second or third, and be the nearly men like we were under Jose Mourinho in his first season back. Or if you want to win the Premier League, bite the bullet and go and bring in some key players in some key areas.
Yeah, I think I really do think like concentration is almost key. Like I think the amount of intensity and concentration and focus that you need to win a UCL final is immense. But you know that it's going to be over after 90 minutes. Well, you have the weeks up preparing, which must have been an absolute torture. But you know that it's going to be over after 90 minutes, after 120 minutes. You have that extreme focus, and then you're done. But the problem with the Premier League is that if you're having games every 3 days, every 4 days, like I can imagine that it must be so mentally exhausting to constantly have that 1,000% energy. And I think we're just seeing like more and more games in shorter span year after year. And like you said, we don't have our starting midfielders playing. So guys, I do think that it is, like Matisse said, partly our injuries. And if you have the likes of Jorginho and Kante and Kova in the team, they just demand a similar respect. It was, I forget which game this was. against, I have like a really terrible memory for these things. Matisse, maybe you know, but it was a game where Thiago Silva didn't start, and then he came on at like halftime, and then the team just looked a lot more sturdy and stable because Thiago Silva was on the pitch, and he kind of like
This
demanded
season.
that. Yeah, it was like a few weeks ago max. I don't, guys, if you know this game that I'm talking about, let me know. I literally don't remember. I just remember little pieces, but I can't match the game to the incident. So I think that that's like a main thing as well. So oh, sorry. Somebody's in the bathroom. Naima said, I don't know how we did it. Like we won against City on as a UCL, but there's potential that we are unlucky with injuries. I think it's like a combination of what I've been saying, that we're unlucky with injuries, and we also it's like a shorter mental span during that time. Oh, thanks. I saw your comments, this one, but I thought you left. So, but thanks so much, Ibrahim. I really, really appreciate it. I know that it's so late in the UK, guys. So thanks a lot for watching this stream, and definitely drop it a like if you are enjoying it, and make sure to sub to Matisse and myself. Petrova said, could it be that opposition teams have found out how to counter Tuchel's tactics? I feel like we're being pressed high nowadays, and also our wingbacks are not being allowed any space. Matisse, what do you think about this?
No, I don't think so. Because I just think we're very good usually at being, when we're pressed, we usually get out of the press quite well. I think Mendy had a hiccup a couple of weeks ago that he needed to rectify against Manchester United. Him and Jorginho had a moment. But again, I just feel like the key players that help our build-up are either missing or carrying knocks. Jorginho is a huge part of our build-up. He's carrying a hip injury. He wasn't even fully fit in the game against Leeds. That was clear, in the press conference. He was going to start carrying a knock. Chilwell is a huge part of that build-up play. It's very lopsided now with Reece James on the right-hand side because, again, Alonso in build-up play is not as fluid, is not as smooth as Chilwell. So that makes us more lopsided. It cuts off a few options for us going down that side. Kova, very press resistant. Kante, very good as well in the second phase as we build up, and then to slip it in between the lines to him, and he carries the ball forward. So I think there's some very key players missing, and it ruins the options for the centre backs in terms of Silva, Rudiger, when they pass into midfield. When you're going into Saul, it's not as strong an option as Kova. Even Ruben, at times taking too many touches like he did against Watford. It's not as strong as option as Kante. So that I think we've just got weak points in our build up with the players that are currently in it, and that's why our build up hasn't been as strong. But hopefully, that's something that's going to be rectified when we bring in new players. It's very, very, very difficult for us to, build up play when we're very lopsided, and I don't like being predictable. And I think, like you're saying, Alonso, a lot of the attacks have come down that side, and a lot of our attacking play is probably build up wise going to go down in Reece's side, because he's obviously a lot better on the ball. So we don't want to become predictable in that way. It's important to balance it all back out again.
I think like this kind of was even happening maybe at the start of the season, but then Tuchel realized it immediately, and then he started playing the wingbacks as inverted wingbacks essentially, and creating overloads in the midfield. So I think that, like Matisse said, it's just a matter of the personnel that we have right now. Like, you guys have to realize that we have like essentially our entire midfield is wiped out, and Ben Chilwell, who had 3 goals and 1 assist before he got injured, and the stats just speak for themselves. Like, since he got injured in our 4-0 win against Juventus, we've conceded 10 goals in 5 games. Like, that's not a coincidence at all. We saw last season that Liverpool really struggled when they had a center back injury crisis as well. So it would just be extremely hard for any team to perform under the conditions that we've been performing in, and we've been getting by. So I know that it's very difficult not to like take this at face value and be like, oh, this is how Chelsea are playing and we haven't been playing well, because Yeah, no, we haven't been playing well, but we also have a lot of our first team players out. So I'm trying to like set my expectations, if that makes sense. But I know
Yeah,
it's frustrating because I just want to see us play beautiful football like every single
of
time.
course.
But I'm just trying to get through the results, and that kind of leads me to the next question. Ravi asks a question for Ellie and Ma. What do you realistically think that Chelsea can get from the next three fixtures? So we play Everton, Watford. Who's the next one after that? Villa?
Everton, Wolves, then Brentford,
Oh,
then
Wolves, not Watford.
yeah,
Brentford's in the cup,
Brentford's in the cup, then
and
Aston
then
Villa,
Villa.
um,
Yeah,
and then Brighton, and then Liverpool. So for the next three games, though, obviously Everton we need to win. Wolves, I think we still need to win. I know it's not going to be easy, but we need to find a way to win. And then if you're talking about in the league game, Villa we need to win. And if it's Brentford in the cup, then I think we should rotate and rest in that game, and hopefully we get through it. If we don't, we don't. But I don't think the Carabao Cup's a priority. Obviously, I want to win every competition, but I don't think it's a priority. I think the Club World Cup is probably more important in February. But yeah, next three Premier League games, we need 9 points. We need to win every game up until Liverpool 2nd of January, and put ourselves in a proper position for that game, I think.
yeah. I mean, uh, realistically, of course, I want to win all three games. But if I'm thinking about it, I feel like we should be winning them. But given the injuries, like maybe we draw one game. But I really, really, really hope that we win all three of them. I'm always just super was not like conscious. I don't know what the word is, guys. I can't even think straight.
Cautious.
Cautious, yeah.
Yeah.
I
You're a
can't even
rookie,
speak
bro.
English. It started with the C. We have an interesting question from Richie. So, guys, if you don't know, Aubameyang was stripped of the Arsenal captaincy today. I saw some rumor that he didn't go to training, and then he ended
Yeah.
up getting a tattoo or something like that. I don't know, Matisse, if you know more about this, but what do you think about Arsenal stripping him of the captaincy? Basically, a few years after they stripped the captaincy from Xhaka and gave it to Aubameyang.
I think I seen about this. It's difficult because we don't know the really ins and outs of the situation. I heard he was trying to pick up his mother from France. Then he was getting a tattoo. That was in London. He was apparently late coming back home, but was on time for training. But then some people are saying he was late for training. So I don't really know what's going on. I just think this is a constant thing of having disciplinary issues. This is not the first time. Obviously, didn't turn up for the captain's. I think he was late to the game for Tottenham. Didn't turn up to the captain's meeting, I think, as well, something like that. So for the Premier League captains, I don't know. There's a lot going on there. For me personally, he should have been stripped off the captaincy a long time ago. I don't think he was a good captain choice from Arsenal in the first place. I know he was their best player, but that doesn't mean you're a captain. He just doesn't strike me as a captain kind of figure at a football club. He's quite a chilled guy. He's quite cool. But in terms of actually demanding certain things from a whole team, I don't think that's him. I don't think he's that guy. Kieran Tierney for me is captain material. I think without the injury issues, he should be Arsenal's next captain. So it was something that should have happened a while ago, way before this news broke. So Arsenal have got a terrible, terrible record with captains recently. Fabregas leaves, Van Persie leaves, Koscielny rips off the top and throws it on the floor. Gallas cries. Who else is there?
Xhaka,
Xhaka puts his middle finger up to the fans. Their history of captains is just absolutely atrocious. So they need to find out what's going on over there. They've got some sort of problem. It's
nobody
mad.
has a captain like our captain, Aspie.
Yeah, 100%. And we're gonna
We are
have
like,
another great generation of captains, I think, in the next decade with either Mason or Reece. So we're blessed for captains. I don't know what the hell is going on in North London for captains. So it's crazy.
all the captains are at Chelsea.
Mad.
I know that we spoke about it, and your choice. Oh my god, I don't know if you heard that crack, but your choice for captain is Reece
Yeah,
minus
slightly.
Reece.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments who you would prefer as the next Chelsea captain, Reece James or Mason Mount, because we are 50-50 over here. Um, Ravi, in the meantime, Ravi asks a question. Do you think it's make or break for Timo Werner this season? We have been seeing some links. I don't know how reliable they are. I saw stats the other day that he's actually scored more goals than anybody between last season and this season. I think it was like 16 or something like that. And then he had like 16 offside goals as well, or some ridiculous amount of offside goals. But Matisse, is it make or break? Oh, sorry. My hubs is calling me. Is it make or break for Timo this season?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think, this is a guy that really needs to have a very, very, very good season finishing wise for the rest of the season to change the narrative. And I think if he doesn't, then we should be looking to probably sell in the summer. And I think he's going to have a lot of suitors in Germany in the summer, Bayern Munich under Nagelsmann, to maybe, look for that Lewandowski replacement. I personally don't know if he's going to be the exact replacement in terms of playing up front on his own. He's not that guy, but he's got a really good goal scoring rate in Germany, as we saw at Leipzig in his final season there. And obviously he could go to Dortmund as well to replace Erling Haaland. So I think if we're getting our money back on Timo Werner in the summer, we should be taking it unless he improves drastically. So I think it is make or break. And I think him and a couple of other attackers are in a make or break season, and minimum of one of them need to go, if not two. So, I think this is a guy that, he does limit us a lot system-wise. If you look at Manchester City's forwards and, interchanging Bernardo Silva, Mahrez, Foden, if you look at these guys, De Bruyne, these guys are able to play so many positions because they're quite complete in terms of their attacking abilities. And Timo is the complete opposite of that. He's very limited. Some people are saying he needs to play on the left side of a three in the inside forward position as a second striker. Some people need to say he play in a front two, can't play wide, can't play up front on his own, can't play against low blocks. There's way too many things that he can't do, and I love the character. I love the accountability he takes after games. I love the attitude, but me liking someone is not going to be enough for them to play for this football club, unfortunately. So unless he ups his output drastically, I do think he's going to be potentially going, and it's because he's so easy to ship. I think he's going to have suitors. A lot of the time, Chelsea, it's depending on whether players are even interested or teams are even interested in the player that you're trying to get rid of. And I think Timo's not going to have a problem finding a team in Germany, whereas some other players will probably find they probably won't find suitors. I don't know how many goals he's got in the Premier League since he's joined us, but it's not a lot of goals. Someone's saying I'm being harsh. I mean, you can say harsh, but at the end of the day, we haven't won a title since 2017, and if we don't compete this season and score enough goals consistently, and he's part of that problem, then you have to look at it in that type of way. I'm looking at Chelsea strikers like Nicolas Anelka. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at Drogba. That's the level. If you're not getting to that, and technically as a footballer you don't look like you're getting to that level because you've got too many issues in your game, then it's a discussion. 47 million, that's a lot of money for someone that we like, who works hard, who creates space, and his goal contributions we can put together and make it look nice. There's strikers on the planet that just score enough goals and they don't have to even put the assist in, so to make it look nice. So it's just the brutal honest truth, to be honest.
Yeah, I it's so hard because I really like him as a person as well, and he's just so personable, and you see that he just like gets along and jokes and has like a great attitude, and you can see that he just tries so hard. Do you think that it's more of a matter of like him not adjusting to the system or to the Premier League? Like, do you think that it's fixable at this point so that we could see him start firing? Or, I mean, I feel like we brought him in to be like our striker, and we also brought in Havertz, but then the fact that we also then went and brought in Lukaku, I think says a lot. That it's like, okay, now the onus and the spotlight of scoring goals is kind of off of you because we just brought in $100 million pound signing in Lukaku, and he's going to be the one that we rely on for the goals.
Yeah, I mean, it was meant to take some of the burden off of him for sure. I just think, this is a striker that's used to playing with space in behind. That's what he was used to in the Bundesliga. And we don't really always have that space in behind. We come up against a lot of low blocks. I've seen someone say he's got more goals than anyone at the club since he's arrived. That's not a good stat for Chelsea. Like, that's not good. We have not scored enough goals. The whole.
I mean, Jorginho was our top goal scorer last season.
This
So
is what I'm talking
with
about.
like
And like,
7.
it annoys me because people will see these statistics and these posts on Twitter and they think that's good enough. We literally had our top scorer in the Premier League be Jorginho from the penalty spot last season. We had a conversion rate that was dreadful, which is why we finished 4th. There's a reason why, that isn't good enough. So it's not, you can say, well done, Werner, for getting the most goals, but it's like, piss dropping on top of you instead of shit. Like, I'm sorry, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough.
So
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm almost tired of defending some nonsense stats that people come to me with because, like, was he in the golden boot race? No. So again, that's the level. That's what we're trying to get to. So this season we have to see an improvement from a goal standpoint, or we have to start asking questions.
Last question
about
this, Matisse, because I can see you riled.
Again,
Lewis says,
people love to
if
do
Werner
this.
goes in the summer, we'll have another Salah KDB sitch on our hands.
Again, people love to do this with the whole Salah De Bruyne thing. Like,
Salah was not good when he was playing for Chelsea. Like, I remember watching him and I was like, oh, he's not doing anything. I was not bothered at all when he went to Roma.
Salah at Chelsea was, first of all, much younger. He was like 21.
So young. So
it's
young.
not, again, it's not really the same comparison. De Bruyne and Salah were both like 21, around that age when they were here. De Bruyne was looking good, in my opinion. We made a mistake there. Salah wasn't. He wasn't looking good. But we saw from Basel in the Champions League, he had potential. He came in at the wrong time with Mourinho and he didn't really get his chances. And then he went to Italy, to Roma and to Fiorentina, developed, and then came back a better player in his prime. But to constantly keep saying, Salah, De Bruyne, like, I'm sorry, but unless that player actually looks like them, you can't make that comparison because Timo Werner is nothing like Mohamed Salah technically. He's not like that. I know they both have speed, but they don't play the same way. And they haven't played the same way. And also De Bruyne, that's just a whole different conversation. Again, it's not the same player. So the more we keep doing this whole Salah De Bruyne thing, every single player we have, they could be the next Salah De Bruyne. It's just, for me, it's just silly because, judge what you're watching, not what you've watched. Do you know what I'm saying? Judge what you're actually looking at. I have patience. That's why I'm saying this season. But do you know what I have more patience for? Tuchel. And Tuchel didn't sign Timo Werner. And I'd rather keep Tuchel than keep Timo Werner. So you have to decide as a fan, do you want Tuchel to get sacked because we didn't score enough goals? Or do you want to get Tuchel the forwards that he wants so he can build a dynasty like Pep and Klopp? I think people are forgetting this. This is Chelsea. This is not Arsenal where you can just underperform, not win titles, not challenge for golden boots, and Tuchel's just going to keep his job. Tuchel will get sacked over this. Tuchel will get sacked over signings he did not make. If that's what you guys want to happen, then you can keep the patience thing going. But I'm not going to have patience for a board that will sack a manager like that. For me, a manager, the second manager behind Ancelotti that we've had an opportunity to build long term. I don't think Jose Mourinho is really long term. I don't really think Conte was really long term. I think they were too volatile. But Tuchel is as good as you get to long term to Ancelotti. And we messed the Ancelotti one up because we were moving crazy. But Tuchel, I think he can be long term. So, and again, you're saying Tuchel would have bought Werner. Again, who told you that? Like, again, where does that assumption come from? Where? He never managed Werner. So where does that assumption come from? Again, it's like, just because he was from the same country, it doesn't mean he would have bought him. It really doesn't. So I don't want to make these assumptions. The fact of the matter is, he didn't buy him. So Pep was backed with his signings. Klopp was backed with his signings. And if Tuchel needs to be backed with his signings, I'd rather Tuchel get backed than we try and, hang on to players that we paid for. And we don't want to lose our ego because, we paid money for them, so we have to make them work. Unfortunately, these were Lampard signings. So if they don't work, then you have to replace them with Tuchel's players. You have to start again. That's the whole point of getting a new manager. You're starting again. He's improved the defense. He's made players look world class. He's made Kepa look better. He's improved the midfielders. Yep. If he can't improve the attackers, then give him some new attackers. Give him what he wants.
Yeah, I would love to see what he's going to do with Lukaku, because I think that he has been like world class at the club for club and country recently. He's just a goal machine and he hasn't been scoring, but I'm going to wait until the end of the season. Hopefully we can get him scoring again. What we had a question in the comments, I don't remember where it was. Here, do you think Hakim Ziyech is another one who's kind of been like on the fringes, sometimes in the team, sometimes out? He's been pretty inconsistent. So then he'll have a brilliant moments, then he'll have a game where he doesn't do so much. Do you think that Ziyech is going to leave Chelsea by the end of the season?
I don't think he's definitely not leaving in January because we don't have the facilities. we don't have the facilities, and also he's been better in the last few weeks. So
He has
it
been
doesn't
better.
really make any sense after maybe he might have got something out of him now and started to actually get into his head that you need to move quicker off the ball and on the ball, and be a little bit more, spark some life into you. You're in the Premier League. Come on, let's get a move on. Him and Kai have been moving a lot quicker in the last few games. I don't really see why it would make sense to get rid in January. I don't think any attackers will really leave in January.
We don't. We have a lot of depth, but we still need our attackers.
Yeah.
Richie said Ziyech just frustrated me. He was sub too late, and this is kind of something that Tuchel has been doing recently. I don't quite get it. Like, he's been making subs so late. I don't remember which game it is, guys. Again, I'm terrible for this, but I remember I was like, Tuchel, you have subs, right? Like, what's going on over here?
I mean, look, I think with Ziyech, he's going to be a frustrating player. I think recently he's been good. Can he keep that going now for a whole season?
More. Yeah.
Can he keep that going for the whole season and be reliable week in, week out? I have my doubts, but I'd love to see it happen. But again, I think for me, it's just like, again, he's part of that group that is, let's see where they are at the end of the season. Let's see where Werner is at the end of the season. Let's see where Ziyech is at the end of the season. Let's see if Pulisic is fit, or is he injured again? Because we haven't seen him much this season.
I know, and he's played out position as well. I haven't seen him. I remember in his purple patch or whatever after Project Restart, he was playing as a left winger. We never see it. We always see him on the right now. I don't know why he's always playing on the right, but it's gotten to the point where I don't even remember what it's like to see him play on the left in his preferred position, because we always see him playing on the right as well. Richie said, algorithm brought me here. I'm liking it so far. Thank you so much. The algorithm has not been kind to me, so this made my day. I hope that I have not been getting any help from the algorithm recently. I have no idea how it works. So thank you so much. If you guys got brought over here from the algorithm, thank you. I think it was the United game, now that you're saying it. I literally can't remember these things. Any sort of Tuchel hate is a rational reaction. A few months ago he's world class and now he's trash. I saw some Tuchel out on Twitter and I absolutely don't understand it at all. The club is going through a tough time. I don't know what to tell you guys. Anybody with any team, any manager would have a tough time with this situation. Like we said, with the amount of injuries that we've had, with the amount of fixtures that we've had, it's just a rough time. We have to ride this wave, and hopefully we can come out of December still in a title race and then go from there. Somebody's asking where my accent's from. I'm from New York. I'm here for the holidays. In case you didn't know, I'm from New York. I live in Madrid. In case you don't know. But yeah, Matisse, we've been going for over an hour. I have to eat dinner. I'm gonna.
You do.
So I'm already smelling it. I'm getting so hungry. But guys, thanks so much for joining. Thanks so much for spending your evening with us. If you like this video, like it so that you get suggested to it and you find other content creators similar. Make sure that you sub to Matisse. He just hit 20K. You're well over 20K now, but make sure you sub to his channel because it's absolutely brilliant. He also has Twitch. Make sure you sub to my channel as well. But Matisse, any last words for the people?
Big up to the people that were watching, man. I enjoy these discussions because I think you know, apparently we don't like losing games, but I think the conversations are more interesting when we're losing games because it just makes us think, as opposed to when we're winning and obviously we're just enjoying everything. I think for us, you know, we just have to get back on the horse, people. Do you know what I'm saying? Start winning some matches. But there'll be loads of content coming out on my channel. I've got a London show on tomorrow at 1 p.m. Battle of the North should be back tomorrow as a late upload as well. Bringing that back one time, and obviously then the Everton game on Thursday. So there's a lot of content coming out. Big up to everybody, and yeah, big up to C1 London as well. He's going to be talking to Hasselbank tomorrow as well. He won the competition today, so yeah, he's been a big loyal supporter of the content as well. He was in the chat earlier, so yeah, big up to him, and yeah, big up to the rest of you, man. Big up yourselves.
Nice. I don't know how you do so much content. Like, it's truly so impressive. Thank you guys so much for watching. As Matisse said, big up to yourselves. I feel weird saying that. It's just naturally come out of my mouth, but we're here for it. Like Matisse said, lots of content coming up. Support your content creators because it's really freaking tiring. But yeah, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it, especially because it's so late in the UK right now. Absolutely mad, but really appreciate you guys watching. And until next time, we're out.